you did, and I can't seem to get you off my mind. Yeah, I'm tempted by the heat of desire.
Well, the impetus for this band.
Not impotence.
Yeah, that's it. I was really offended.
Let's go to a different description.
What's a good word?
I guess it began. Billy and I were working on something else with somebody else, and it just never took off. And but we still wanted to do something. We wanted to do the whole power trio idea, and in a quote unquote classic rock vein. And our good friend Eddie Trunk knew we were looking for the triple threat: guitar player, vocalist, songwriter.
Right.
And he said, "What about Richie Kotzen?" And it was like a light bulb went off. Like, of course.
Of course.
How do we not think of that?
I know. I kicked myself in the ass. I apologize. I didn't think you were right off the top of my head, Richie. I don't know why I didn't. It's like it's something right here. Where? I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Oh my God.
And it was obviously the perfect suggestion. So we contacted Richie, and I first wondered if you guys were cool because they played together in Mr. Big, and they were both totally. Yeah. And we got together at Richie's place and immediately started writing, and this started from scratch. This didn't begin until the three of us worked together. So the thing that Billy and I were doing with the other guy was a whole separate thing, but once the three of us got together in a room, that's where the Winery Dogs was born.
The sound kind of made itself because we basically just got in a room and started riffing and playing beats and singing melodies, and that was kind of the process. Each day was different. Maybe start playing a groove, and Billy played a bass line, I'd start playing a melody, or I'd play a riff, and it just kind of happened. The cool thing is the record, it really sounds like what it sounds like when the three of us play together, as opposed to some sort of mathematical equation or meeting of a brainstorming, like, well, let's have elements of this and elements of that. We didn't do anything like that. Just pretty much got in and played, and I've said it before, if there wasn't a chemistry, it wouldn't have been possible to make a record.
Well, for me, that's what makes this so exciting, because first of all, I've never done a trio. And second of all, I've never done a straight up rock band. Everything I've done all these years was either rooted in prog or rooted in metal. And this band is neither. But that being said, my roots are in this style of music. Before I was listening to prog and before I was listening to metal, when I was a kid, I was listening to The Who and the Stones and the Beatles and Zeppelin, and that's what formed me and made me who I am. And I've never been able to fully tap into that in an original band. So for me, it's very exciting to finally be able to do that.
Well, there's some similarities and there's some definite differences too. I love the three-piece thing. It's my original band from Buffalo Tallis. We were a three-piece band. We all sang guitar, bass, drums, and it was a big part of my life. So it's kind of revitalized that to some degree. But take a soulful, bluesy singer and sing over a heavy rock band. That's the formula for a lot of bands. Humble Pie, even Zeppelin is kind of like that too, to some degree. But I like that we all still keep a hold of our individual thingy, and then put it together. You can hear those elements, but they also something new comes of the combination. And I do enjoy it. And it's hard for any player to listen to the records. I think it's hard. It's hard for me to listen to records you played on sometimes because you're so close to it. You got to kind of get away. So I always leave it alone for a couple of weeks, then go back and listen, like with new ears, and kind of forget about it. I went back and listened to this, and I've probably listened to this record more than any record I've played on since probably the Eat 'Em and Smile record. So it's really struck a chord of familiarity with me.
It's funny because I have to think about them because you write stuff and then, at least me, I tend to forget what I wrote. But I like that track because that's one of the songs that was written out of the initial jam sessions that we did, and so I didn't really know where it was going to go lyrically. or even melodically. But it's an interesting song because the verse has this kind of a mellow, jangly guitar kind of thing to it that I really like. And the chorus is just kind of almost like, it's like flips, it's like the other side. You know, it's like the light and the heavy, you know, the light and the dark. You know, it's kind of the vibe of that song. And there's a couple songs that were written like that on the record where we just jammed ideas, and then later I went back to it and tried to figure out, now what am I going to sing? And then there's other songs that were kind of, I kind of knew right away what I was going to sing, like Damaged or Regret or I'm No Angel. There's a song that Mike wrote the lyrics and melodies to that is called You Saved Me, and that was a very interesting thing for me because I don't think I've ever done a record where someone else wrote the lyrics and I sang their lyrics and their melodies. That was the first time. I mean, obviously I've recorded cover songs, but never in a band. Well, I'm always making my own records. But even when I was, you know, in bands, I never really did that. So that was kind of interesting. It was challenging, but then I was like, no, I can do this, you know, and I like the way it came out.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, there's the other track that I kind of have been just listening to over and over is Time Machine.
Oh yeah.
That's a great track.
That's an interesting song too, because we had a lot of options on how to arrange that. And I remember we spent a lot of time in the studio, you know, after it was recorded, saying, or maybe that was on the demo. We had that demo, we were kind of chopping it around.
There was another verse and stuff, but the way it came out, for me, it's perfect. I don't know what we changed or what we had original, whatever it did. We wrote, it came up a 7. We loved that.
The record's interesting because it has some of these songs, like Time Machine, for example, has a theme, and then there's an ending that's just kind of something different. And the song The Other Side is like that. Even the ballad Regret is like that. So I kind of dig that. It's, you know, it's like there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of freedom in the way we wrote the record.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't really have rules in play of like, you have to do it this way.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, even the way you guys came together, there's really nobody forced it to happen, kind of did this on your own.
No.
So there's no rules, there's no industry telling you what to do.
I think we just wanted to like it. That was the, like, you know, I think all three of us wanted to like it. And if somebody did something, and you know, I don't like that. I don't like that. It can be better than say, well, I like it. Well, what's wrong with it? Well, I don't know. And then suddenly we go back and forth, and then you have something that everybody likes, and it's something that would have never happened had one of us been alone.
I like that it's open. I like that you can communicate. I like breaking that barrier down a little bit.
You do,
especially with the music business, because music, as opposed to TV or movies or whatever else, we're much more in touch with people that we are doing this for. You know, all the time after a show, I'm always out. If there's time, I'm always out afterwards saying hi and signing stuff and, you know, saying hello to people and all kinds of stuff. And it's important to me to kind of put your thumb on the pulse of what's going on. And the whole, I love the fact that we can keep in touch easier these days.
You all three like that? The Facebook, Twitter, social media? And you think it's helpful for, I mean, maybe not for album sales per se, but helpful to embrace your fans a little bit more?
Which is more important.
It's really, for me, I mean, the internet completely changed my whole career for the better, because suddenly, as an artist, you have a voice. You're not depending on a corporation telling you what you can say, what you can't say. You have that outlet, and if people respond to you and they like you, or they like what you're doing, you can develop relationships, and it's a positive thing, you know, to be able to have that channel open, as opposed to 20 years ago, if you wanted to share music with someone, you really needed a record contract. And now you don't need it.
Well, some bands do. Some artists also still maintain their privacy, and you know, I've worked with other bands and other artists that was a bit of a clash. You know, when I was out with Avenged Sevenfold, you know, I always had this very open relationship and would like to always talk about what I was doing, where I was, and share. Whereas they like to keep everything very, like, you know, on guard, and so, you know, it was a bit of a clash actually, because I didn't want to not be able to talk. Okay, well, I'm playing in Detroit tonight. I didn't want to not be able to say, well, here's me in the dressing room. I like that.
Right.
So I think, but the point is, there are a lot of artists and bands that purposely don't embrace it and like to still shield themselves and have that privacy. But like Richie said, for me, I think it's a great asset to an artist to be able to reach hundreds of thousands of people all around the world with one touch.
It's fantastic.
And it exposes them to
Yeah, I think it's a
bad
good
and
thing.
good.
And plus, you can explain a lot of things to people that they would never know ever. Like I always have a situation going on where people say, "Why aren't you playing in Des Moines?" or "Why aren't you in Rockford?" And I said, "Well, because we don't choose where we play." I used to get a lot of heat from people. They're not coming to Canada. Well, the hell with them. No Canadian booker booked us. We can't just walk into a country and play.
That is one thing that I have seen a lot from a lot of bands. That backlash of why haven't you come? And most of the artists that have embraced it have said,
we're trying.
We're in the bus.
Give us an invite.
Yeah, the bus driver points us.
And that can lead a lot of times to fans getting together and getting to the promoter and lighting a fire. And I've seen it happen where gigs occur. So that's all good. But I think ultimately just the availability of everybody's music all the time, everywhere, and what's going on with people just gets a good line in between us and everyone else. Because I guess there's a little bit of a gap between the stage and the audience, but I like very small ones. And I like to be able to reach out, Even at the shows, I hate it when the crowd is too far back. I was like, could you move the barricade up close here? Because I want to see everybody.
Well, we're starting off. This first month we're doing 3 completely different worlds. We're starting in Japan.
Right.
Next week, and then from there we go to South America and do a bunch of shows there, and then we come up to America and do a bunch of shows in America. So right off the bat, we're hitting 3 completely different markets on different sides of the planet, just to get our feet wet and get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And
then we do a full European leg in September, and then there'll be a full American leg in October, and and keep going and keep going and keep going. We'll see how it all happens.
That was my last question. The plan is just see how it goes and roll through.
We're in this for the long haul. We'd love to see this as an ongoing thing. We'd love to see this, keep us on the road for the next year. It's just a matter of.
I'd love that.
It's just a matter of how people take to it and where the offers are. But we're ready to rock.
And look at all the freaking flower mileage we'll get.
I don't think I've ever seen you play a drum set that small. That's
it's fun.
We've taken the Portnoy and concentrated it down into a small, powerful, like uranium, plutonium.
It's like somebody put my drum kit in the dryer.
Is this the smallest drum set you've ever played?
Well, I've done. In an original band, yes. I did a Beatles tribute with Paul Gilbert, and I was playing a Ringo kit for that, and I did a Zeppelin tribute, and I played. But this is the first original band I've been in where I'm playing this as my kit for the tour.